Hello. Welcome to our Maximizing Screens webinar. This is assuming that you know the basics of SalesScreen and maybe even know how to connect a screen, although we'll go over the basics of that. But we're going to dig a little bit deeper in how to create slides and playlists and make sure everything works together the way you want and make sure that you're taking advantage of all the features that you can use when building out a screen playlist. Some of the ways that we do things and the ways different slide types are divided up have changed over the years. So whether you're new or have been here a long time, there might be something you can learn from this. So I'm excited to get started. Yeah, so we're just gonna roll right into the content here. Please feel free to ask questions during the presentation in the chat, and we'll answer there or discuss further at the end, depending on what the question is. But today we're basically going to be going over the anatomy of a screen display, how the slides, playlists, and screens all work together, and some quick things you can check if things are not appearing the way you expect. Further than that, then you always have the option to jump into our support chat and ask for extra help, but these are some things you can quickly check. We're going to get into a breakdown of the exact types of slides you can create and the use cases for them. And then we're going to do a little bit of advice with a recipe for a great screen playlist and some things that you would want to make sure to include. So we're going to get right into the anatomy of the screen display. So these are the components that go into what you're going to see at the end of the day on the screen in your office. And they are as follows. You've got your physical device, which is your actual literal screen that's capable of displaying an internet browser, specifically tv.salescreen.com or the SalesScreen TV Chrome app. If you're getting a specific device for this, our best recommendation right now is the Google TV streamer. They usually run from about $75 to $100 right now. And we have very good support for the Chrome app and for Google. So that's the one we recommend the most right now. It's not impossible to get this up using other devices, but that's the one that we can promise a lot of support for. And then always, even if you don't have a designated device for this and you just have a monitor, if you have a way to get an HDMI cable connected to that monitor so that you can plug it to, spare laptop, any sort of computer that can display tv.salescreen.com, you have everything you need to set up a screen in that way. Then we have, this is just where I want to define what I'm talking about a little bit, the screen in SalesScreen. So there's a section that we're going to go to in a moment called screens. And a screen in SalesScreen is basically a virtual representation of that specific physical device that you've connected. And settings on this virtual screen determine which celebrations are going to show. Then on that screen, you've got your slides and playlists. The slides are the individual units of content that can be displayed on your screen. They get grouped together into playlists, and a playlist or multiple playlists can get sent to a screen on SalesScreen. Then this is one that a lot of people are not aware of because it gets done at setup and maybe you don't check it out again. But activities and activity types is where you determine what types of records get a celebration at all. So maybe you want to send celebration videos to the screen for a sale, but not necessarily every time someone makes a call. So we'll talk about how you can set that up. I'm going to jump in and talk about some of the items that we're going through here. One moment. I'm going to pull you into my demo environment. So we're going to manage and then screens. And we're going to imagine setting up our first physical screen here. I'm going to take you through the process. I don't have a screen to actually connect it to, but there is a detailed video showing this process on our help wiki, which I'm linking to in the slides, which you'll all get. But if I were to start a new screen from scratch, I could go with, main office. We recommend naming them based on their physical location. Otherwise, it can get a little bit confusing later on. So once I've created that screen, you'll see the little indicator in the side here with the settings. I'm going to choose what playlists come into it. So I have two playlists right now. I'm going to just bring them both in, break room and office. Actually, if this is the main office, I'm going to get rid of the break room playlist. And right now it's going to show celebration pop-ups for all teams. So I could make it so that I have a B2B only screen or maybe an outbound only screen. But for now, I'm just going to say that celebrations for every team are going to come into this screen whenever they submit a qualifying record. I'm not going to get into IP allow lists right now. It's a little bit more high level, but you can reach out to support chat if you need that. And I'm going to show you what I would do next to connect this screen. So I'd click connect. Then on whatever device that I want to connect, I would go to tv.salescreen.com. There would be a 4-digit code that I would, if the number was 1234 showing up on that screen, I'd type 1234 in here and then click activate. And that would create the link between that physical device that we have on the office wall and the representation of that screen that we have right here in SalesScreen. You're welcome to reach out for us for help at any time. I'm going to include the detailed video of this process in the slides, but for now I'm going to move on to getting slides onto the playlists that I have added to this office screen. I'm going to jump in here. And one moment, I'm just going to quickly take you through our checklist for if you've connected your screen and you're not sure what next, if nothing's showing. Here's the basic points that you'd want to check. Is your device compatible and set up correctly? Here's that link to the connection instructions that you're going to get. You'd want to make sure that your virtual screen shows as connected in SalesScreen. There'll be an indicator saying whether it's online or not. You'd want to make sure your virtual screen has at least one playlist on it, because if you're connected but there's no playlist, then nothing's going to show. By a similar token, you want to make sure that playlist has all the slides that you want to include on it, because if it's an empty playlist, again, it's not going to show you much. And then you'd want to check to make sure your virtual screen is set up to play celebrations for the desired teams. That's in that settings window on the side that we talked about. And that the activities you want to generate celebrations are set up to do so and have the text that you want. We're going to go all over that stuff right now. So in our screen dashboard, we've got our screen section where we just were. Then we go into playlists and I can see a list of what I've got in the break room, what I've got in the office. So I don't have anything in my office screen yet. So I'm going to build that from the ground up. I can also go into slides right here and just create slides without knowing necessarily what playlist they're going to go into yet. And you see all of these here, they're available for me to add into any playlist. So anything I create here in slides will show up in my available slides list. So we're going to go through and we're going to talk a little bit about the different types of slides that we have available to add to your screen playlists. I'm going to go back to my presentation real quick and give you an overall breakdown. So there are 4 types of slides that you can add. There's 4 basic categories. So there's data slides, gamification slides, media slides, and recognition slides. So your gamification slides are your data slides are pulling in the actual data. It's similar to what you would use to measure a competition, to put on a dashboard widget. So you can create leaderboards of where people are with various activities. You can show company aggregates. You can show activity flows. And the first type that you'd be using the most often, I think, is your single metric slides, where we're just pulling in that data and deciding how to present it. So to create a new slide, we can go into our slide section, do that specifically, or there'll always be a button available to you right here in available slides. I'm going to choose single metric, and I'm going to, for now, just do it with my sales revenue. You want to focus on the key metrics. And there's a few different types of layouts that we have for any single metric slide. So your table, your grid, and your bar are good for leaderboards, for showing how much of something in order people have been achieving. The grid also we'll lay these all out in a different fashion, but you'll still get numbers on the leaderboard. Table has a few extra ways of presenting things, so you could use this to break it out into recent reports. So you're just seeing what's come in most recently. Let's take a moment to generate a preview here, but I think yeah. So we're just seeing the most recent things to come in. It's not sorted out into top performers or anything like that. We can also create a wall of fame, which is going to show who's the top performer of the day, the week, and the month. So you're looking at a few different periods at once. That's a useful one to have. I'm going to grab that and do that right now. I'm going to do an all sales revenue wall of fame for my first slide. I'm going to view by user because we're doing it by what activity, but I could also maybe say who's the top performing team. And it's business to business outbound, but for now I'm going to go back to user. If I wanted to make this so that it's only bringing in certain teams, I could go ahead and do that. But in this case, I just want all of my users' data, all of my team's data. So if I don't select anything here, it's just going to bring in everything. That's what I want here. So in terms of advanced options, I can change how many people are on the leaderboard. That's not quite as applicable here for the Wall of Fame, but I could go through and do it. I can also filter who has rights to access this. If I have different managers, I might want to be able to add to screens of their own. I'm going to leave everything by default here. I'm okay with keeping the title all sales revenue, although I could change it if I clicked select custom title. And for the period, it's already decided that's going to be broken up into threes, but I can choose whether to do today, the week, and the month, or other types of breakdowns. But I'm going to leave it as is for now. And I'm going to save and publish. I get to choose what playlist it goes to. Even if I didn't choose anything, I could go through and add it to these playlists later, but I'm going to add it to both the break room and the office and click save and publish. And now we see that formerly empty office screen now has something. I can also pull something in from the side. So I've got my competition slides here from ongoing competitions. These I don't have to create as slides. They are created automatically just by creating that competition. So any live competitions you have right now will appear here in available slides, and you can just pull them in by clicking the plus button if you didn't already add them when you published the competition. Then some other types of data slides. I'm just going to go through. I'm going to click all sales revenue again. So we had that table. We also have the grid if we wanted to show a leaderboard. I'm going to do a bar leaderboard. I think this visually really explains people where they're at and how they stack up the best. So I'm going to do it that way. We have some different designs you can use for the bar graph. So we have, in addition to just showing bars, you have skyscrapers, which whoever has the tallest building has the most reports. You could do money stacks if it's revenue and you want to make it really literal. So I'll keep it like that. We have this default money background for this. They all have default backgrounds, but you can set backgrounds on anything you want. If you have either some branded company slides that you want to use to tie everything together, or if you just want to put things that fit the season and feel fun. I'm going to view this by user, but again, there's different ways to break things up, and I'll talk about that in a moment when we go into the pie chart. I'm not going to filter. I want everything to come in. I'm not going to do any advanced options on the rest of these. So for sales revenue, I would like to look at the current target, which in this case, I do it by month. So then you see things kind of shrink down a little bit because this target is only 2 days old. And I'll save and publish this slide. I'm going to add it just to the office. I'm not going to worry about revenue in the break room and pull it in there. I'm going to create that pie chart type. And again, for right now, I'm doing everything with all sales revenue. You could break things down in your other types of metrics as well. But I just want to show you all the different ways that you can present the same basic data coming in. So the pie chart is good for breaking down the type, breaking down a report by category or by type. So it's going to default showing users, and I can see, who's as a piece of the pie, who's bringing in the most revenue, and that can be helpful visually if you have maybe a smaller team. What I find the pie chart is best for is I have a section called type, which is showing my line of business, and it's not giving me a breakdown. So I'm not sure why it's not presenting for me right now, but type would be a good place to, if you had, so I have this set up to show insurance sales. So that would normally show you a breakdown of how many of your sales are life insurance, how many of your sales are home insurance, and so on and so forth. Okay, I can do it. It's coming in with source right now, so I can see what the source were for these. How many of these were generated by an inbound call, an outbound call, or through my website, and it looks like it's pretty even right now. I'm going to set the period for current target and then save and publish that. I'm also going to create a general slide just showing where we're at in terms of totals. So I have like my whole number I'm going to say for the current target of what everyone has generated revenue-wise so far. I can measure towards a target here. So that can be based on targets that I've set in SalesScreen. Right now, I don't have a target set, so it's showing 0. That's okay. If you don't have that, you can set a custom goal right here. So I can say that my goal is 100K, this target, and it will show me my revenue as progress to that. I'm going to add that to the office screen as well. And then we're going to talk a little bit about that line chart here. I'm going to use sales revenue once again, click line. So this is showing me my revenue throughout time over the past period. So I'm going to, if I set it to current target, I'm only going to have 2 days of data to work with, but it'll eventually be more. I could also show last target right now, and you get a better sense of how things go up and down. But then once more data fills in throughout the month, we'll be able to watch this line go up and down. So I'm going to add it for current target. Going to go back to the presentation for a moment. This is our breakdown of different types of slides. So I'm not going to go into them right now because they're not relevant to every single person. But in that same place where I go do data slides, I can also do an activity flow slide, which will show either a leaderboard of who is has the best hit rate on that activity flow, or it could aggregate a hit rate for the whole team. I also have the ability to show scorecard slides that it'll just show a leaderboard based on the current scorecard ranking. And all of these can have a customized background image. So then I'm going to get into our gamification slides. These aren't showing necessarily people's production, but it's showing other fun indicators of their performance through other features like achievement badges and battles. So we have achievement slides, battle slides, coins, which can show just a leaderboard of coins balances if you want to make that data public, and the rewards available in the reward shop. That's a good way to keep people focused on it, remembering that they can cash in those coins, and maybe encouraging them to start battles or send endorsements if they're more aware of the coin's flow. The XP and levels slide will show a leaderboard by XP ranking, which is generated mostly by activity. So that's a good way to honor people who have been around for a long time and racking up a lot of activity, and also high performers in general. And then those competition slides, which we talk about, those are auto-generated and you can pull them in whenever they're available. Let's create a few of those. Create new slide. And then, yeah, in that data section, you can see some of the options for activity flow. They're pretty straightforward, or scorecard, which is just going to do all the work for you. But we're jumping into the gamification section now. So to make an achievement slide, there's two kinds of achievement slides. I can do a leaderboard of who's made the, say, high score for sale, or I could do recent achievements and just say what's coming in any sort of achievement for all of my users. I'm going to bring everyone in, but I don't have any current achievements, so I'm not going to show this right now. That might be a little bit demotivating to people. Some other things I could show are battles. So I could show a leaderboard of battle data and who's the highest ranked based on who's won the most battles that they've done. And there's also the active battle screen. I don't have any active battles in this demo account, so I'm not going to go through that, but it'll just flash up on the screen anyone who has an active battle going on right then. We can show our coins totals. So this we do have some data on. I'm going to create it for a current target. And I'm going to leave that unfiltered and add this to my playlist because it's pretty straightforward. I will go in and I will add my reward slide so we can see some of the options that people can get. And then lastly, we do have that XP and level slide. Everyone's pretty much at the same level because it's a demo environment, so I'm not going to bother with this one. But if you have very different XP levels here, you could go through and use that to encourage some more activity. And similarly, most of these have the ability to change the background. Then we're going to get into the media slides. So these you can use your own content to create displays. So you could display motivational image, inspirational image, cute puppy pictures, whatever, literally anything that you can get a file for, you can upload as an image to your playlist, and you can use those to break up the data slides a little bit because it can get to be a lot where you just have leaderboard after leaderboard. Sometimes you need some visuals to break that up for people if they're watching a scroll. You can create a time countdown that could be to the end of the year, to a specific deadline, to your office next party, anything that you want to count down to that's just available for you to set. You can bring in a web page. I do recommend before you add a web page to your screen playlist that you test how that would look in. There's a lot of free iframe testers that you can look up online because that web page is deployed using an iframe. So you can use an iframe tester to make sure it'll display and it'll display correctly the way you want. And then we have the ability to pull in from YouTube. So similarly to the celebration videos, you can pull in a video from maybe your company channel if you have a new promo out that you want people to see, or some other favorite motivational content, other images that you would like to share and add to the lineup. You can add a YouTube video link there. So I'll just go through a couple of those and walk through what that would look like. I'm going to jump into the media section. So the difference between image and image with captions is exactly what it sounds like. I have the ability to add something there. I'm not going to do a caption right now. I'm not going to bother with that, but you do have the option for it. And I am just going to pull in, it's just set background, upload, and I am going to, I just downloaded, we were just talking about that, a cute puppy. One second. There we go. I'm going to apply and save these puppy friends running. And now I have a nice filler slide to just break up my data with. And I'll add that to the break room and the office. Another thing in media, I'm not going to go through literally everything, but with the web page, you'd be able to pull in your link. YouTube, you're pulling in your YouTube link and deciding on a start time, whether it's going to be muted or not. But I'll just quickly talk about putting a time countdown. So there's some pre-selects that I can do, or I can do a custom time, a custom to any date that I want. I personally have a Christmas party at my house on Saturday, so I'm going to count down to that. And I have 3 days, 20 hours, 35 minutes, and 20 something seconds to get ready for that party. Then I'm going to talk about our last type. One moment. So our final type, I'll go through all of these a little bit, is your recognition slides. But those are three types. There are the birthday slide, which lists office birthdays coming in order of which ones are up next. Work anniversary slides, pretty similar. And the feed slide, which is just going to focus on pulling in recent updates from the feed. That's good for people who don't necessarily log into SalesScreen on the browser much. It'll still keep them in the loop of what's happening in the social feed. So I'm going to add my birthday slide. This requires that people have birthdays set in SalesScreen, and it will not show the year ever. You see December 10th, but it will not reveal your birthday secrets. So let people know that. A lot of people have asked that question before putting their birthday in, but no, it's only going to show the month and the day. This one doesn't have a customizable background. It's always the balloons. So there's not much to do. It's just say that you want it and then save and publish it. Very similar setup with the others. So I'm going to do work anniversaries. It's showing who's the next to have a work anniversary. I'm going to click save and publish. and discard my changes. I'm going to add to the feed. So I'm just going to call this office feed. You could call it anything you want. Gossip. And I have to choose which one it is. I'm going to do the general office. All right. Before we jump into the final topic of just balancing these out, I also want to take you through to the activity type section because this does control, just like that screen section, where we give it a moment, just like the side of that screens section with the settings controls whose celebration is going to come in by user, or well, more properly by team, and which ones are allowed to have celebrations pop up. Your activity types are going to show which actual types of reports are going to get a celebration. So if you go into calls, I can look at my inbound calls and my outbound calls. These both get pop-ups. They don't get sound. So I might say, I don't want to play a celebration for an inbound call, save changes, and then now we know this one is not going to play any kind of celebration. If we go into our closed one, I have an activity type, just one called sale, and you'll see this one has play sound checked. So the video that comes up for the calls where I have outbound calls, you'll see somebody's video, you'll see somebody's name on the screen, but it's not going to play their song if they have a celebration song picked out on YouTube. But for a sale, I do. I have a pop-up coming up on screen to show that. It's going to default to 15 seconds. I could make it a little bit longer. I could do 20. I could even go up a little bit if I wanted. That tends to be a bit long, though, once you're actually seeing it on screen, especially if you have frequent records coming in. So I'm going to set it back to the default of 15. You'll see the save disappeared because I haven't been making any changes, but make sure if you are making changes to save them right there. And now I've confirmed that pop-ups will show up on screen for my sales for 20 seconds, and they will have sound. So getting into our final topic as we just get into how to balance this all out. Here are some tips to keep in mind when you're designing your screens. The first is to focus on your key metrics. You might have a lot of different things that you're tracking for various purposes. For your office screens, you want to make sure that it's going to apply for everyone that's going to show, going to be looking at it in the office. So keep it pretty high level. If you have a screen that's going just to a certain team, maybe you can get more specific with metrics that are specific to that team, but you want to stay fairly high level and you want to stay focused on the stuff that matters most for office screens. You don't want them to just become noise in the background. I recommend bringing in your own content and branding. So you can do that with the media slides, but you can also do that with literally any slide that you can set a background for. You can have slides that are branded to your company, whether that's in terms of actual logos or maybe just colors that fit your themes. So that's something to be aware of and take advantage of. And then to break up some data-heavy slides with some fun slides, some images like we just did. If you have a long, long list of slides, make sure that you have something breaking it up and making it a little bit more easy on the eye, easier to take in for the brain, and fun to look at. So the basic screen playlist recipe, as I would call it, is that you'd want at least one data slide for each key metric on your team, or maybe different ways of breaking up the most high-level data like we did where we showed a line graph that was breaking things up by time, a pie chart that's breaking things up by source, and then getting into just the raw numbers in terms of revenue and also some leaderboards of who's bringing in the most. Always slides for any relevant competitions you have that are upcoming or ongoing. So you can show slides for competitions that haven't started yet, as long as you've published them. If they're active, there won't be any data coming into them, but you might actually find it's helpful to put slides for upcoming competitions into your rotation so that people are aware of, oh, okay, in 2 days that competition starts. Nobody's on the leaderboard now, but I want to be on it as soon as it gets going. And then at least one or two gamification slides are usually good. Maybe the rewards to get people motivated and an achievement leaderboard, or if you have people who are really into battles, having the active battle slide can be really nice. It's also nice if you're trying to push battles. You could do the active battle slide just to remind people, hey, this is an option. You could be on this list here. And then just a few fun images, informational image slides, pictures from your last company picnic, keeping it a little bit fun and friendly. And we always recommend using all of the recognition slides, so birthdays, work anniversaries, and the feed. So I can't wait to see all of your playlists. We're thinking about doing a drive to see some of the best combinations of slides and images that are out there in the next year. So definitely, if you're particularly proud of something that you end up developing, let us know. And we hope that you've enjoyed a great Thanksgiving if you're in the U.S. and that everyone is looking forward to the holidays at the end of the year and that you're looking forward to wrapping up a great 2025 and going into a fresh 2026.